good?
Russell,
All right. Okay, thank you everybody for being here. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Board of Trustees to order. Could we please have the roll?
Yes, thank you. Trustee Clark?
Here.
Trustee Collins?
Here.
Trustee Davis Ford?
Here.
Trustee Levinson?
Here.
Trustee Rosner?
Here.
Trustee Schnall?
Here.
And President Torpy.
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting had been provided to the press in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. In addition, notice of the meeting was posted in Village Hall, on our village website, and has been filed in the office of the village clerk. Official action may be taken at tonight's meeting.
Thank you. We have our resolution to go into executive session. If people will recall, 7:30 is the start of our meeting to go into executive session, and then the public portion begins at 8 p.m. So our one resolution.
Yes, this is Resolution 2013-111, is a resolution authorizing an executive session at tonight's meeting of the Board of Trustees.
Thank you. And the items that we have for tonight's executive session agenda under personnel matters are volunteer applications, under contract matters, RFP for municipal prosecutor and SOPAC transaction, under collective bargaining matters, PBA. And question also, Mr. Lewis, as far as the issues that we need to decide on for the police department for tomorrow, is that under that PBA or is that something else?
it could fall under that.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments on the executive session agenda?
Move.
Second.
Okay, moved by Trustee Levison, seconded by Trustee Collum. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Okay, thank you. We'll be back out here at 8 p.m.
Well, it might be 8:15.
It will be 8 p.m.
I was going to take yours, but you came out too fast.
New Jersey Transit. Are you going to the New Jersey Transit?
Where's my phone?
No. Next meeting. I've only got 5.
Send me the emails and I'll set up the meeting anyway before we appoint them.
Oh, yeah, no, we should do that. Okay. All right, everybody, thank you for joining us back here. I'd like to reconvene our regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Could we please have the roll again?
Yes, thank you. Trustee Clark?
Here.
Trustee Column? Here. Trustee Davis Ford?
Here.
Trustee Levinson?
Present.
Trustee Rosner?
Here.
Trustee Schnall?
Here.
And Village President Torpy.
Here. Can everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please stay standing. Thank you. Okay, just a couple real quick announcements before we get started. The first is the groundbreaking ceremony for the Gateway was held on Wednesday, May 22nd. I want to congratulate Ed Ayusu and everybody that's part of that project, and everybody, all the staff here in Village Hall for helping get that project to the to beginning now, which we're all very excited about. And also thank the South Orange Village Center Alliance for organizing a really great groundbreaking event. Just a reminder, the Downtown After Sundown concerts have started every Friday and Saturday night downtown on Sloan Street, Spiota Park. Come down, free music, some really great bands lined up for the summer, and we've got a couple new restaurants in town and new eateries with some outdoor seating. So if you're interested in hanging out downtown, please do so, invite some friends. And we'll discuss this a little bit more later tonight, but I think we're ready to move ahead for a Board of Trustees planning meeting that we discussed in our last meeting to discuss our goals, priorities, vision. June 11th was the date that we were all available to make it, so we do have to figure out the space. It's likely going to be at Seton Hall, and we will notice that and publish it when we do figure that out. I also have a proclamation for LGBT Pride Month. I don't know if there's someone here to accept. Yeah, okay, great. So I'll just read this. Really happy to be able to do this again this year. Whereas South Orange Village takes pride in and celebrates the diversity of the residents who make up our community, and whereas South Orange Village is a welcoming and inclusive community for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender individuals and couples in which to live and raise a family, and whereas lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender residents have made important contributions to improving the quality of life in South Orange, and whereas throughout our country's history, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people have faced prejudice and discrimination, whereas the promise of America is that all people should be able to live with dignity and have equal rights under the law, including marriage equality. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Alex Torpy, Village President of the Township of South Orange Village, on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the entire Township of South Orange Village, do hereby proclaim June 2013 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Month in the Township of South Orange Village, and call upon the residents of our community to celebrate the great diversity of South Orange and work together to break down the walls of discrimination and intolerance and promote full equal rights for Americans regardless of sexual orientation or gender identity. There we go. I did forget, before we move on, one other quick announcement that I did want to make sure to mention tonight. At the firehouse on Saturday, June 22nd at 10 a.m., We are dedicating the new ladder truck to the fire department that was delivered earlier this year. So everybody should come down and join us. It's going to be a really fun celebration. It's a great addition to our fire department, replacing about a 25-year-old ladder truck. Makes me look younger. And anyway, that was a ladder truck that cost about $735,000, although it only came at a $35,000 cost to the village. $700,000 of that was because of Fire Chief Jeff Markey, who went out and obtained a grant from the federal government. Just want to thank Congressman Pasquarello and FEMA and everybody for helping us do that. It's a great addition. Come down June 22nd, 10 a.m. To celebrate and dedicate the new truck. Next, we have a very exciting presentation this month for the Student Villager of the Month. So I'd like to hand things over to the Community Relations Committee. Nancy?
Thanks very much. I'm about to introduce you to the June Villager of the Month, Xavier Lee and his parents, Marion and Ronald, are both here. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Xavier if you've got the time, because this is a busy young man. He's the editor, the opinions editor of the Columbian. He's been in all school musicals since his sophomore year. He's a senior now. He is the founder of the Spanish Trip Committee, working to reestablish the alternate spring break to Costa Rica. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about his mentoring besides all of that. And the reason he was nominated, he is an outstanding mentor to younger students. I'm pleased as punch, in fact, because mentoring is what we all try to do. You guys try to do it too, to teach the rest of us how to do the government. So he has a multitude of interests. He's been at CCN in the TV studio. He likes to direct. I can't imagine that, but he likes it. He's been especially proud of his work as a mentor to Real World Connections at NJIT. His dad told him about that opportunity, and that's the importance of parents and mentors. He shared it with him, and he took advantage of it, and he's gotten more back than he gave. But what he does is work with students needing help to give them real-world experience and familiarity with technology. That's something all of you understand. He found it through his dad, and he's grateful for that. In 2012, he began working as a mentor, also in Ideas That Work, which pairs students with tutors in targeted study sessions on Saturdays. The purpose of the project is to help the students pass their finals. It was so successful, the Board of Ed asked for it to be funded because it was remarkable in the success rate with the students. He was the first student to ever volunteer for MAC, which is, I'm going to read it here, Minority Achievement Committee. They're usually selected by their advisors, and he's the first student to ever volunteer and said, I want to do that. And so he was specially recognized for stepping up yet again to help others. He wants to be able to, when he graduates from Swarthmore, he's attending, we know he'll be graduating and you're attending in September, thinks he wants to be an op-ed editor because people seem to trust what he has to say. And I think we need more of that. Without further ado, I would really like to congratulate Xavier Lee as this month's Villager of the Month.
I just want to say thank you because every student really needs recognition because we work really hard and we often don't really get like that recognition that we deserve. So I just want to say thank you to the Township of South Orange for recognizing me. Thank you.
Congratulations, and thank you for making me not the youngest one here tonight. But thank you also. I think it's important, to make sure to show. I mean, I'm a, Columbia High School graduate not too long ago myself, and I think it's important to remind people that no matter what age you are, you can do great things. And I'm sure you have, friends and peers that look up to what you've done, and I think that's great. And so, congratulations on everything that you've done, and good luck on everything in the future. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about you. At this time, I'd like to move on to the public comment portion of the meeting. Is there anybody? Okay.
One side.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to open the meeting up to public comments. George? Just come forward and you know the drill, but state your name and address.
Yeah, don't I? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board and everybody that's attending in public and by television. I would like to first say thank you all, because all your deeds that you do to contribute to making the village of South Orange a wonderful place don't go unnoticed. And I do notice them very often. Over the past few weeks, I've brought to our village president, Alex Torpy's attention of some signs that were missing throughout town, and I've noticed a lot of them have been replaced. So I want to say thank you, and I want to say thank you to the Department of Public Works and all the township's employees, because everybody has a part in making this town a wonderful place. I would also like to say a public service announcement to everybody in the audience and those viewing by television. Please lock your cars and your windows, especially if your apartment is on the lower level, because unfortunately criminals see this as an opportunity to gain entry and you will lose your valuables. So that's just a public service announcement. And another public service announcement, I do this as a volunteer, and it's a good thing to do. If you see blown out street lights in front of your location, please report them to PSE&G at 1-800, I believe it's 436-7734, because that is also a crime prevention method. So this way, when your streets are more lit up, this will help eliminate criminal activity in our wonderful town. I often walk throughout Grove Park, and unfortunately the village does do a wonderful job, but everybody has to contribute. So citizens or non-citizens, I don't know who, but unfortunately I've been noticing lately a growing litter problem in Grove Park, and unfortunately I've also noticed less garbage disposal. So I don't know if they were taken due to last year's storms or however. So I was wondering if possible, can more garbage cans be put in Grove Park? Because when you're sitting near certain of the benches, instead of the people walking to the next nearest can, they take the liberty of just throwing litter on the ground, and it takes away from the beautiful park that we sit at Grove Park. Also, I've noticed a lot of loitering in the area of 319 South Orange Avenue, where the pizza parlor is, the liquor store, the little area of stores, and that's also becoming a litter problem. Also, concerning PSE&G, I was wondering, I know we're not supposed to go back and forth, I'll just throw it out there and you can answer me later. Are we going to arrange for a sit down with PSE&G, something like we did with the New Jersey Transit, to see what their plans are, so this way 80% of South Orange won't be without power, God forbid there's another hurricane. And also to become proactive, I've noticed now that the leaves are growing on the trees, that there's a lot of trees that are overgrowing and hiding the street lights on South Orange Avenue. The hot spot is between 228 and 236 South Orange Avenue, amongst other locations. And then another location that's a hot spot is in the parking lot where people park their cars right across the street from the Rite Aid Pharmacy. I think that's parking lot number 5. And another location that needs tree trimming, it's at the curb, it's like at the edge of the curb. So I don't know if that's the homeowners or the county at 451 South Orange Avenue. It's like a forest over there when you want to cross as a pedestrian on the sidewalk. And that summarizes it. So I just want to say thank you very much for your attention in the past and in the present, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other member of the public who wishes to speak at this time? Okay, seeing as there's nobody else who wishes to speak, I'll close public comments. Thank you, George, for pointing those out. We've got them all noted here. We'll look into them. And one thing I will add, as far as if people see lights out and things like that, if there is any, people can contact us. If there's any issue, if it's a gas light, for example, that's out or not functioning properly, if people can try and get the number off of it, that makes it a little easier when we give it to PSE&G to do that. Can't really take.
There isn't.
There should be on
no numbers
every
on
gas
gas
light.
No.
No?
No, there's no numbers.
Okay. So there is no number on the
You have
gas
to give
lights.
the address.
And generally,
So-
you have to try to cross-reference the address.
The address.
And give the best location you can, nearest house. And if there's a cross street, use that as well.
And there's a form on if you go to our website, there's a link to be able to report the gas light outages on the website.
Alex, I have one.
Yep.
The Montrose Park Association wants to meet with the Public Works Committee about the garbage pails in Grove Park.
Okay.
I think they said there's 8 cans historically. They want to increase it to 12, but I think they
The
also...
historic cans or
Yes,
historically
historic
been
cans. 8 historic. It's the Montrose Park Historic District, so it has been historic can. And but they want to increase the number, and they want to also they want to pick the locations and the style and stuff. So
Okay.
I told them to meet with the Public Works Committee and to reach out to Walter Park.
So we'll make sure to have that conversation. And I will say also the last comment, PSE&G will be here. I should have mentioned this earlier. They will be at our June 10th meeting. They're going to do a presentation about their Energy Strong program. So we will have a few representatives from PSE&G. That was just ironed out recently. And we'll make sure to notice that to the community. So if anybody's interested, they should definitely be here or watch the meeting. It should be very informative. I think that's everything. Okay. And I can't wait until we have a smartphone app with all the 311 reporting. George is going to be the top user. It's going to be great. So I'd like to, at this time, move on to the approval of minutes.
Move.
Slow down. The first is from the April 22nd, 2013 regular meeting. Walter, trustee, our 3 new trustees have to abstain. We're not trustees at the time. My question, Ms. Klein, is do we need 4 affirmative votes to pass it, or is it
No.
3 is the majority because that is the 3 is the number of people who can vote on
Majority
it?
on,
Simple
yes.
majority.
Just one person.
No, but I'm saying it's
Simple majority
3
of
out
those
of
eligible
3.
to vote.
It could
Correct.
pass 1-0.
Yeah, of those eligible to vote, it would be a simple majority.
That's right. Okay, that's what I was asking. Okay, so it was moved by Trustee Levison,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Rosner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstain? Thank you.
Will they abstain?
3 abstains. The next is from the May 20th reorganization meeting. Do we have a motion?
Move.
Moved by Trustee Schnall,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Clark. Unless there are any questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. So now we can move on to ordinances on first reading this evening.
Thank you. The first ordinance is 2013-07. This is an ordinance to amend the code of the Township of South Orange Village, Section 152-33, Schedule 1, with respect to parking on Western Drive North and Western Drive South.
Thank you. This was a recommendation from our police department that is going to limit on-street parking on Western Drive on one side of the street. This was discussed and vetted in the Public Safety Committee and discussed in our previous board, and now it's ready for first reading, but because both both readings of an ordinance have to be done for members of the public, have to be done by the same governing body. We couldn't do it before, we would have to do it over again anyway. So it's on first reading this evening. We've discussed it in a prior board, and it again came up through the Public Safety Committee to try and improve safety and make sure that emergency vehicles could fit on the street and try and mitigate some of the other traffic and pedestrian issues that were noted. So at this time, I'd like to open this ordinance up for board discussion. If there are any questions or
And
comments?
if it passes on first reading, we'll send a notice to everyone on Western Drive.
That's correct.
And I guess the street that it, I guess Ridgewood Road hits it at the bottom, you want to notify those homes too. And we'll notify them before the second reading, at least 10 days before, so that if anyone complains, they can come.
How was notification done?
We have a mailing list to the, we actually sent them out because we introduced this once and then.
Right.
So we're-
I'm sorry, there's really not a question and answer period at this point. There's a public comment period at the beginning of the meeting and at the end of the meeting. I'd be happy to kind of entertain. Yeah, there's actually not a public comment period right now for this ordinance. The public comment period was before this, and there's a public comment period afterwards, and then when it's on second reading, and there'll be a public hearing when it's on second reading, and then there's an opportunity for you to comment at the time the ordinance is being considered. Is there any other, are there any other questions or comments from the board? Okay. Do we have a motion?
I move.
Moved by Trustee Davis Ford,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Column. We have a roll call, please.
Thank you. Trustee Clark?
Here?
Trustee Column?
Aye.
Trustee Davis Ford?
Yes.
Trustee Levinson?
Yes.
Trustee Rosner?
Yes.
And Trustee Schnall?
Yes.
Thank you. So ordinance 2013-07 has passed on first reading. Our second ordinance tonight is 2013-08. This is an ordinance to authorize the license of certain premises, more particularly described in the attached agreement, to Cablevision of Newark.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis, is there anything that you want to say for members of the public about this ordinance?
No, is this?
We've discussed it.
Well, we've already passed it once.
Yeah.
Because we,
Yeah,
this
this-
is
oh, that's right, we had the wrong,
This
Do over.
Yeah,
Right.
this is a
Run the
do-over.
line in the parking lot behind.
Right.
Yeah.
The UPS buildings. It's-
Okay. Unless there are any other questions, can I have a motion, please?
Move.
Moved by Trustee Levison,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Davis Ford.
I'll say it.
We have the roll, please.
Thank you. We're going to start with Trustee Column,
Yes.
Trustee Davis Ford,
Yes.
Trustee Levinson,
Yes.
Trustee Rosner,
Yes.
Trustee Schnall,
Yes.
and Trustee Clark.
Present.
Thank you. So ordinance 2013-08 also passed on first reading. We have ordinance 2013-09. This is an ordinance establishing the salary range for the deputy village administrator.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Okay, can I have a motion, please?
I move.
Moved by Trustee Davis Ford,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Rosner. Can we have the roll, please?
Thank you. Trustee Davis Ford,
Yes.
Trustee Levinson.
Yes.
Trustee Rosner,
Yes.
Trustee Schnall.
Yes.
Trustee Clark,
Yes.
and Trustee Column.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2013-09 has passed on first reading. Our third, we're on our third ordinance. Fourth ordinance tonight is 2013-10. This is an ordinance to amend certain sections of the land use development portion of the South Orange Code to allow for fees and escrow deposits for applications to be heard before the South Orange Historic Preservation Commission.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on this ordinance? Okay, do we have a motion?
I
Do
move.
we want to explain it?
Sure. Would you like to explain it? Mr. Lewis?
Yeah, we just created a Historic Preservation Commission, which is a statutory board that has certain jurisdictions hold public hearings. It is authorized under municipal land use law that that board can implement the same procedures that planning board and zoning boards of adjustment do, which is to, among other things, collect application fees from the applicants to help offset the cost of considering those applications, as well as require applicants to make escrow deposits, which would pay the costs of professionals in reviewing those applications, the overall purpose being for the applicants who are going to the board to bear the cost of that rather than the taxpayers.
Thank you. And this just authorizes them to do that?
Correct.
Right. Okay, do we have a motion?
Move.
Moved by Trustee Levison,
Second?
seconded by Trustee Clark. We have the roll, please.
Thank you. Trustee Levinson,
Yes.
Trustee Rosner,
Yes.
Trustee Schnall,
Yes.
Trustee Clark,
Yes.
Trustee Column,
Yes.
and Trustee Davis Ford.
Yes.
Thank you. So ordinance 2013-10 has also passed on first reading. Our last ordinance tonight is ordinance 2013-11. This is an ordinance of the Township of South Orange Village, approving a lease between the Township of South Orange Village as landlord and South Orange Performing Arts Center Incorporated as tenant and related matters.
Thank you. This is the first reading of an ordinance that is for the purpose of restructuring the debt that's on SOPAC's balance sheets right now and moving it over to the village's balance sheets. The village obviously owns the building. No matter which way you kind of look at it, it's our responsibility. This moves the debt around in a way that SOPAC is very confident this will enhance their ability to get grant money as it takes the debt off of their balance sheets, which is usually a negative outlook for granting agencies that are looking to fund an organization they don't want to necessarily fund the debt. This has been an issue that's been discussed for a while. I don't know if Mr. Lewis, you want to give a quick overview. We're also going to make sure to post some information on the village website tomorrow. That's going to give a little bit more thorough of a background and history and explanation of what this is, to make sure that if there is anybody, member of the public who's not here tonight or is in Washington tonight, if they do have any questions about this, that they can fully understand the reasons why we're doing it, sort of the implications, and what we all see as the benefits associated with it.
Yes. Basically, the history, when SOPAC was envisioned or created some years ago, it was originally intended to be a village-owned facility, a village-operated thing. It was originally funded by the village through long-term debt, constructed by the village. At some point, in conjunction with some rulings from DCA, it was determined that there was a need to set up a nonprofit, separate entity, sort of a holding entity to, operate the facility. There was a long-term lease entered into with SOPAC, which again was with the South Orange Performing Arts Center nonprofit. With that, the village remained and has made payments on the underlying debt principally, but in connection with that transaction, there was a long-term lease entered into with SOPAC, whereby they had exclusive rights to the building for 99 years, effectively owning the building. And with that, a corresponding obligation, at least on paper, for SOPAC to repay the village the debt. It became, I think, readily apparent to most any objective observer and everyone who's looked at it that that underlying assumption was not realistic, was not accurate. The realities of the performing arts industry, and given the size and limitations of the facility, it was not feasible or really realistically possible that they would get in a position to repay that debt. And what happened is that debt became sort of an albatross on their balance sheet, making it look to all potential funders as though that they were not viable and potentially would not be around. And that's certainly not conducive to getting grant funding. This transaction, I think, recognizes that economic reality from the village's perspective. It regains the security. Since we're paying on the building, we will now unequivocally own the building and own the asset. It will be on our balance sheet as an asset, and we've already had the outstanding obligation on our balance sheet. SOPAC will then be freed up from this obligation that it was not going to be able to repay under any scenario, which should really unshackle them to go get additional fundings. I know with the, we're all excited about the new energy with the new executive director, Mark Packer, and the board, that this will allow them to pursue and really grow into the facility that I think we all hope it'll be. It'll continue to serve as an anchor to the downtown, generate all kinds of, unquantifiable spin-off business and value to the homes, the businesses, the downtown. So, all in all, I think it serves two purposes. It positions SOPAC in a much better position, and at the same time, it also positions the village better because we now own the asset that we've been paying on and will continue to pay for.
Thank you. And I know we're going to have a couple questions and comments from trustees in a moment. Is there anything, we do have the executive director and chair of the board from SOPAC here tonight. Is there anything that you guys want to add before we get to a couple questions? Just want to make sure to give you the opportunity to.
Thank you very much. I want to welcome the new trustees. We look forward to working with you, hopefully very successfully going forward. I have nothing to add right now. Both Mark and I and John Zubek, our treasurer, are here to answer any questions that you may have or that could come up. So have your discussion. I am obviously very delighted and relieved that we are at the point that we're at. I think it's going to be much better for South Orange. and certainly better for the viability of SOPAC from an operating perspective. I'll say one thing, which is it is Mark Packer's goal, it is the board's goal, that within the next 2 to 3 years, there will be no subsidy from the village to operate SOPAC. That is our goal. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to open it up for board discussion and any comments or questions for the members from SOPAC that are here.
Ms. Collin has a
I
question.
feel like I'm in a classroom.
Trustee
Me?
Collin?
Yes, I just wanted to go over the length of the lease agreement. The original, I know, ground lease was 99 years. We're looking at 50 years now, and that was perhaps the biggest concern I had looking at the lease was why that length and why not shorter?
50 years is better than 99 years, I guess, from the village's point of view. I don't think the term is actually that important for the following reason. The lease also contains provisions about how we're supposed to operate the center. If we don't operate the center and we don't do it viably, essentially the village gets the building back to find another operator or to operate it itself at that time. If we're doing a successful job, there will be no reason to change the terms. So I think that the main point of that I take is that the provisions are already there in the lease, that if we're not doing what we should be doing, that the village really holds all the cards. So it's kind of a meaningless term.
You were hoping for more?
Pardon me?
No, I guess that's just debatable there. I mean, I will add that under any other circumstances, I would be voting against this on first reading just because we haven't had sufficient time to review everything. But I am content after speaking with representatives from SOPAC and former members of this Board of Trustees, the time sensitivity of this. So I do want to definitely see it move forward. But we just received, even most recently, the Clearview lease as the attachment to the lease that we were provided last night.
Let me say one more thing. I mean, obviously, I've been negotiating with various teams representing the village for 2 years. So there have been plenty of opportunities for the details of what the lease should say and what it should contain before this moment. However, aside from the issue of what are the legal mechanics that the village needs to do to amend the lease, keep in mind that the village still has a very important tool, and that is the subsidy that we need, the operating income that we need for the next 2 years at least. And I've already discussed the kinds of amounts and timing of when that has to happen, or when we hope it will happen, with the team that I've been talking to. So that there's plenty of opportunity for us, as long as we don't have to go through more major ordinances to talk about changing any provisions in the lease that you think are appropriate to change. You have plenty of leverage to say, Tony, can we come in and talk about this? So if the new team wants to continue those discussions, obviously I'm prepared to do that. We're in partnership with the village, just like we're in partnership with all of the various organizations that use us, Seton Hall and the various arts organizations, Midtown Direct Rep, the ballet companies and so forth. All these partnerships are very obviously critical, and the village is most critical. So as with any contract, it's always stands to be amended, and I'm ready, willing, and able to sit down with whatever the new team is going to be to talk about this lease going forward. I think right now, let's get this done for the reasons that I think Mark has explained to all of you, that while our grant application is pending with the New Jersey State Council on the Arts, the ability to advise them before the window closes and to create the possibility that this year we'll be successful in getting that grant is absolutely critical. It is the good housekeeping seal of approval for us to move forward. I don't care if that grant is $5,000 or $50,000. It's the very fact that we get it. We want to give Mark the tools he needs to work his magic to change the entire complexion, not only of what we do and how we're perceived in the village, but also to change the operating sources of funds, how they're used, how they're deployed, as well as doing what I think we're doing pretty well right now, which is to have lots of full houses for the various programs that we've been presenting. Looks like we're going to have another one next Tuesday. So if you haven't got your tickets to, what's that group?
Is this a plus?
Sunvolt, you're probably out of luck.
Is this a plus?
Any other questions?
Are there other questions or comments?
My only comment was, as Trustee Collin pointed out, we did not get most of the documents, the final version of the documents, until yesterday and today. So I'm voting on this for first reading, but I just could say, well, I guess before it gets to second reading, and actually before we get to our first meeting in June, in case we have to do another first reading, just want to reserve that we may have questions and comments that may come back, but the intent is still make sure we get something done before the end of June. But I just, just want to put that out there. It's just, and I'm not blaming anybody. It's just the timing worked out poorly, and I could not read it today because I had other plans today. So that's where I stand.
In terms of kind of making the public aware of this, what are you envisioning? Just posting it onto the village website?
Yeah,
I think it's a good time to almost do like a SOPAC 101 outside of just the lease agreement. What we were doing, this is what we're going to be doing now and why.
That's correct. It's going to be, not just kind of a technical explanation of what this is, but also just a little bit of an overview of where SOPAC was, where it is, and why this plays such an important role kind of in that vision that we're all kind of moving towards. In fact, the title that we actually had kind of thought of this was SOPAC 101. So we're planning on doing that. That will be on the village website. We'll also circulate it to the media, patch, and the news record as well. It's easy enough to put on patch. I'll probably, because this is important enough to make sure people understand, it'll probably be in my next column in the news record as well. So we'll make sure to get it out there as much as we can, and people should distribute it out to their networks as well, and hopefully that will give residents a good understanding of the history, the overview, the reasons why we're doing this, and again the benefits that I think that we all see, especially understanding kind of the culture around granting for arts institutions in New Jersey, and why it's so critical that this one particular grant, regardless of the dollar value, is gotten. So. Are there any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to move.
Okay, moved by Trustee Schnall.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Clark. Can we have the roll, please?
Thank you. We'll start with Trustee Rosner,
Yes.
Trustee Schnall,
Yes.
Trustee Clark,
Yes.
Trustee Collin,
Yes.
Trustee Davis Ford,
Yes.
Trustee Levinson.
Yes.
Thank you. So ordinance 2013-11 also passed on first reading.
Thank you.
If I can ask for a motion tonight, I did not give the presentation to Trustee Davis Ford tonight, so if I could do it in your stead. This would be asking for a motion to move ordinances 2013-07, 08, 09, 10, and 11 to be scheduled for second reading and final passage at the June 24th board meeting.
I should know that by heart by now.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And Trustee Levinson, thank you.
Second.
There seems to be a little confusion about the meeting
The
date.
date is,
We
okay.
couldn't make the timing.
You have the
the
calendar?
publication.
Okay. I thought we were going to go ahead and do that.
They weren't going to be able to
We didn't do that?
No.
Okay.
Do you need the earlier meeting date?
I don't think we can do the publication. That was the problem.
That was
because they're moving
that
this
was,
date in
I
10
couldn't
days.
count it in now.
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Publication.
Ideally, we
Publication date.
would have liked to
The
do
next
it on the
meeting.
10th, but you have to publish 10 days in advance, and with the moving of the
yeah.
date and the publication deadline, we couldn't do it for the 10th. For the public hearing, it has to be published, the notice of the public hearing, at least 10 days in advance of the public hearing.
Yeah.
And with this meeting moving to a Wednesday, we don't have the ability to publish in time for June 10th.
Since we didn't have a meeting Monday.
That's it.
If we had a Monday meeting, we would have made the deadline, the window.
10 days?
It's got to be published in the newspaper 10
By
days prior
statute.
to the public hearing.
But the meeting's the 24th.
Well, yeah, they were hoping for the 10th, but Sooner the better, but.
Okay.
Okay?
So we had a motion and a second.
Hold on, okay. Oh, there was a motion and a second.
There, can I have a minute? We may want to see if there's an ability to convene an extremely brief one-item special meeting for the public hearing on
Yeah.
this ordinance.
That's what I thought.
What would be, if we did the Star Ledger tomorrow, Robin, when could it get
It's a
published?
3-day, we need a 72-hour window for the publication in the Star
Okay.
Ledger. We still need to advertise in 2 papers, though.
Right, okay.
So the News Record and the Star Ledger are the 2 official papers.
So it's next Monday?
So the next news record that would be issued would be next Thursday.
But we could not meet that deadline because to hit that, we would have had a
No, I'm not
Monday
saying
meeting.
this, I'm not saying tomorrow, I'm saying a week from tomorrow.
That is correct.
That's the next
Yes,
one.
correct.
So it'd have to be 10 days from that date?
No,
Is
but we
that-
can do the Star Ledger. We don't have to do the news record.
Why do we have to have the news record as a
We
second?
need two notices.
Two newspapers or 2 notices?
One notice, but
2 notices.
And does the South Orange Patch count as a notice?
No. But you could do the Star Ledger. You have to have 2 different days?
Calendar days.
So you could do the Star Ledger on 2 consecutive days?
We're required to file the public notice for public hearings in 2 official newspapers.
Okay.
That would be the Daily News Record and the Star Ledger. Unfortunately, our electronic press, which we would love to use, and we do notify them as well, is not included under that statute.
What happens if a town only has 1 newspaper?
Then they advertise in the Star Ledger.
No, what happens if a town, if the Star Ledger is the only paper that the town has? I mean, the news record,
It's an old statute where there used to be multiple papers, so
Yeah,
the statute is not caught up with the change.
but there were towns that only have 1
I know.
official paper, so that's
But
why I
when
don't
this-
understand
Not
that.
familiar with that.
This statute is an old statute, and that was one of the multiple
Mr. Rother
papers.
would like to weigh in here.
I thought it went by the subscription base and the number of papers, so the Times could qualify.
This is the legislation that's sitting before.
Did you say that Monday, the 17th would work? Would meet your deadline?
It's 10 days, 10
yeah,
calendar.
we could do Monday the 17th if it was in the 6th.
Yeah. From the time that it was published.
So we can do that. The only thing is we do have a Board of Ed meeting at 7, although we could do this right before that. And it could take 10 minutes
Yeah.
or 5 minutes.
Just a 5-minute
Well,
open.
not if the public has questions and it's the public hearing. So it could be a link.
That's correct, could be. Well, that's the option. So are people available on the 17th?
What day of the week is that?
That's a Monday.
Monday.
Yes.
We just make ourselves available.
Third Monday is
What
supposed to
time
be
are we
yours.
talking about?
Why don't, if we can, why don't we, I'm hesitant to do it earlier in the day just because if people are used to board meetings in the evening, I don't want to have it at a different time of day. So I think we're just going to have to go to the Board of Ed meeting a little bit late. So if we can schedule at 7 o'clock, I think that's a little earlier, but I think that'd be okay.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Or we could do it the other way around, which is that the Board of Ed meeting is at 7 o'clock, which is an informational meeting for us about capital projects. Then there's the actual Board of Ed meeting at 8 o'clock. So our meeting with them, our informational meeting about capital projects that they requested that we be at, is actually only from 7 to 8. So we could have it at the same time as the Board of Ed meeting at 8 o'clock when that meeting is finished, as long as we're not planning on attending the Board of Ed meeting.
Where is the Board of Ed meeting?
Just down at the Board of Ed on Academy, so 2 minutes away.
Yeah.
So we could do that at 8?
Let's plan
That
for
makes more
8. I
sense,
like
yeah.
that better.
Okay, so we will meet here 17th at 8 p.m., a special meeting for consideration.
You gonna get back here by 8?
Yeah,
We'll carpool.
yeah, because they have to start the Board of Ed meeting at 8.
But even though there's,
We have to drive back from
So we'll leave at 7:15. 58.
Even though the official notices have to go to the 2 newspapers, so I think we should also make sure we send out a notice to the Patch, the alternative press.
Oh, that doesn't
Yeah.
prevent us from doing
They
that.
do that
Only because I
automatically.
think,
Yeah, that happens anyway. Those just aren't official legal.
because I think the Patch actually probably has a wider readership in the news record these days in the South Orange.
Probably true. And yeah, again, all the notices go to all of the local media outlets.
That goes out, but by statute, we have to do the
I understand,
two
I understand.
official.
Okay, so that will be noticed for 8 o'clock on the 17th as a special Board of Trustees meeting? Okay.
So
And
we
you
have to,
should modify,
you have to modify the ordinance that Robin
modify
just
the
read, so that,
the resolution so that, yeah.
yeah, the
Motion to
one
set the public
resolution,
hearing
the one,
to
the one,
Right, so there was a motion and a second, and that's it.
yeah, but we have to modify so the 2013-11 will be on the 17th.
Right,
the
so
others are on
if
the
someone wants to
24th.
move to amend
I'll move.
that to
amend,
remove
yeah.
the, which number is it? 11.
11 to the 17th.
Okay. So that motion was made by Trustee Levison to amend it, seconded by Trustee Rosner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So the original motion has been amended to read the same except for 2013-11.
Correct.
I do have a question for council. Would the New York Times act as a paper that we could use as an...
No, the problem with the 2 newspapers is that in your reorganization meeting, you designated 2 official papers.
No, I understand that. I mean, could we use the New York Times?
No, it has to be in New Jersey. There's
But
a
don't they have a
case
New Jersey
specifically-
edition?
There's a case specifically that deals, a municipality in South Jersey tried to use the Philadelphia paper, and they said, no dice. It's got to be a New Jersey paper.
And there's no other New Jersey paper that's daily. It's a Bergen Record. but
No, and we couldn't,
Has to have a minimum
we
subscription
can't
base.
change that now because you would have to have a published agenda changing the designated newspapers,
Well,
and you couldn't do that until your next regular meeting.
He was saying
No,
in
I-
general principle, he said
in
not for
general.
this. He said in
For
general.
general
For
information
future-
Oh,
purposes.
yes,
What
for
are-
future use.
can we name
And-
other paper?
Yeah, and I think we should go back and revisit that designation,
Yeah.
because we should say that they're alternative official papers, so that we're not stuck with 2.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the question I was
Can we
asking.
do that for next meeting?
Yes.
Add an
Please.
alternative?
And can that
And that'll give us-
alternative be a digital?
No.
No,
No.
still has to be
It's-
print.
No. Yes,
That's legislation
print
that's
journal.
trying to be passed.
Instead of stuck with that second one, we have a third one if there's a sense of urgency, that's daily.
Okay.
It would wind up being NJ.com.
So we have the amendment. I don't think we passed the original.
No, so then we need a motion now to move that ordinance 2013-11 be scheduled for second reading and final passage at a special meeting on June 17th.
We did that.
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
No,
We just
haven't.
removed it from
We
the other.
removed it.
We amended it.
I move.
Okay, moved by Trustee Schnall.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Levison. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, we've got several resolutions on our consent agenda this evening.
Catching up here. We have several resolutions on tonight's consent agenda. Let me just get myself together. We have a resolution amending and restating the salaries of the 2013 spring and summer baseball, softball umpires. A resolution amending the salary of full-time laborers in the Department of Public Works. This is in accordance with the ratification of the OPIEU collective bargaining contract. A resolution amending the holiday schedule set forth in Resolution 2013-017 and amending the South Orange Policy and Procedure Manual. A resolution authorizing the purchase of firefighter protective clothing and equipment through a state contract. This would be in the amount not to exceed $4,500. A resolution authorizing the cancellation of unredeemed checks in the South Orange Municipal Court bail account. A resolution awarding contract to Ravax Contracting Corp. for the 2013 road improvements. This would be for the Thornton Street, Rinda Road, Kingsland Terrace, Kingsland Court, and the South Ridgewood Road improvement projects. A resolution designating the Environmental Commission to serve as the Township of South Orange Village's Green Team. A resolution authorizing final change order number 2 for Beaver Electric Company for the Crest Drive Auxiliary Firehouse Improvements Project. This represents an overall net increase of 1.2% to the original contract amount. A resolution affirming the village administrator's hiring of 2013 pool staff in the Department of Recreation and Cultural Affairs. A resolution affirming the village administrator's hiring of per diem building attendants at the Baird Community Center. A resolution affirming the village administrator's hiring of per diem staff in the Department of Code Enforcement and Inspections. A resolution affirming the village administrator's hiring of seasonal maintenance staff in the Department of Recreation and Cultural Affairs. A resolution affirming the village administrator's hiring of a tax and utility collection clerk. This is in the tax collector's office. A resolution authorizing renewal of membership in the Suburban Essex Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. And we have a resolution granting a raffle license to the South Orange Performing Arts Center. This would be for an on-premise cash raffle.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on any of the consent agenda resolutions?
Yes, I have one, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, go first.
123. Was this modified based on my question I had about the total number of hours times the rates?
Which one are you on, 122?
123. What the budget impact was for that?
I don't know that the resolution was, but I'm getting that information. We're going to incorporate it going forward. I don't know that this was because you only raised that question.
The question that I had raised was that we get these resolutions for part-time employees. What I'm looking for is the estimated number of hours for those part-time employees so we can measure against how much.
Just most of these are pool people. And
I understand that.
I understand. Let me just finish. We give the pool manager an overall budget that he has to be under. So if the budget's X amount of $1,000, he can't go over that. And his total number of hours for the lifeguards and other pool personnel have to meet that number. It's in our agreement with him. So but typically they overhire in the beginning, so it's hard to project because a certain number of lifeguards quit, get fired, whatever it is. So you have to have enough to make sure you get to the summer. But this is what we've done every year, and so I'm not quite sure how it would play into the way you want to do it, but that's
one of the suggestions I've been making in general for when we put in resolutions for hiring part-time personnel, that we include what we think the budgetary impact is going to be. And the second part of that,
but
which
the
I didn't...
lifeguards is a little bit tougher because it's partly weather dependent, it's partly number of hats you stay on.
Worst case.
Worst case, we can't go over that, whatever's in that budget for the person.
The other part of that is that I raised the question of why don't we have authorization of funds when we put up the resolution, that we have appropriated funds.
Mm-hmm.
The CFO should be signing off on. That's why I originally raised the question. Is the money been appropriated, and the CFO should be signing off on that?
Well, I mean, certification of available funds is under local public contracts law, which this wouldn't fall under. I mean, the specific statutory requirement for that doesn't.
No, I
mean, as a practical matter.
Yes.
I mean, other than certainly representing it's within the budget that we intend to propose and adopt. I don't know how you certify for each individual, but certainly we could accompany it by the total of all part-time people and all their hours at their hourly rates will not exceed the amount appropriated in the budget. I mean, it'd be difficult to do a fund availability, and legally there isn't. That's under only local public contracts law, the fund availability certification requirement.
Yeah, I understand that, but what we're doing is that we're just signing off and saying we have a part-time employee making whatever number of dollars per hour. We have no estimate of how many hours that employee is going to.
When we do the budget, we actually have an estimate in the budget what the number's supposed to be.
And that should be.
But we don't actually. Typically we have not gone over budget on.
Yeah, how do you measure that?
But what's in the budget? If we budget $100,000 and we spend 98, then we've not gone over.
Yeah, I agree with Mark here. I agree with Trustee Rosmer, Trustee Levinson on this, that it's budgeted and has to be certified, as the administrator said, and then it's up to the administrator to manage that on the operational level. Our job is to approve the budget line and to oversee it to make sure that these things aren't exceeded, but the And then we charge the administrator to manage that process and to make sure that everything is in compliance with what we agree. You know, we can't get involved at that operational level because then, you know, things become paralyzed. You know, things don't get
I
done.
think certainly, and perhaps to address the concern is, as we enter into these seasons, and I'm certainly happy to work with Kate Schmidt, is perhaps we'll give you a memo, this is the overall budget for these seasonal people, estimated this many hours, it may wind up being 10 kids, it may be 20 kids, but ultimately it's going to be that. Would that address the concern?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think
we'll do that.
a minimum and maximum should be
Right.
pretty.
Okay.
On number 117, which is the road contract, the bid came in less than what we originally projected. I think we're a couple $100,000, more than 200,000 under bid.
Correct.
So that extra $200,000, are we going to use that for other road repairs, or are we just rolling that over into next year's road
It
repair
will,
projects?
ultimately, I mean, we did, I think, still have some potential road projects yet coming in phase 2 of our capital, so the available excess would, you know, reduce the amount we'd have to fund for that. Because the way we did it in the bond ordinance, it's, you know, road and repairs including but not limited to, and then it lists the specific roads just to provide that flexibility that if we come in under budget, if funding's available. So, yeah, it would reduce the amount that we'd have to appropriate for.
We could use it for microsurfacing as well.
Anything road related, yeah. It's fairly broad.
Historically, are there overages for those types of projects, or it is what it is? They come in on the number and.
No, I mean, occasionally, I mean, this is a fairly straightforward, there's a lot of excavate, you wouldn't expect too many surprises or change orders, it's basically a road and you know what it is. So the nature of the project, general road, you know, mill and overlay or paving, there aren't too many surprises typically. Sometimes the quantities and the tonnages, if they have some leveling courses they have to put in, it can go up, but not, you wouldn't generally expect a lot of change orders in road projects. Construction projects are a different story, you know, other projects that may involve, you know, underground issues, unseen conditions, those are more likely to generate change orders.
A bigger problem in the past has been when a company has done work that's not up to par, and you have to go with the lowest bidder who's reasonably qualified and whatever. If that person gets on the list where he's not acceptable to anybody, he just goes out of business and starts a new corporation and starts putting bids in all over
And continues
again.
to be unacceptable.
What?
And continues to be unacceptable.
Yeah, so.
I would say on that point, this particular company, although we have not contracted for them, the engineer checked the references.
Yeah, we always check the
very
references.
good
Yeah.
references, though.
But
from
we've been
people that we
burned,
know
we've been
and
burned a
trust.
couple of times, but we always do check the references.
Yeah.
I have a question on 126. I was curious if those are contractual, or are there any legal or other constraints on why we specifically say it's an on-premise cash raffle? If we wanted to have representatives in town at stores, retail stores, we do that. Is there a reason why we specifically? The clerk.
Yeah, Trustee Schnall, I can answer that question. Gaming, the gaming regulations in the state are very specific, the type of raffles that can be held. You can have a merchandise raffle where you're raffling actually merchandise, or you can have a cash raffle. You sell a certain number of tickets and certain percent of the proceeds go to the winner. Then there is the on-premise raffle versus an off-premise. What the on-premise means is that you can only sell those raffle tickets at that location, at that date and time. It's specific to that application. And the off-premise raffle would be that you can sell tickets in advance of a certain date and time. So those are usually printed tickets in a booklet that can be sold months in advance of the event. So in this case, SOPAC is looking to have an event next month. They're only looking to sell the raffle tickets at that event, at that evening.
Sell the tickets for one day?
Yes.
And what, is there an application fee? If we wanted to do an off-premise for a separate occasion?
That would be a separate application, and candidly, the state of New Jersey has separate fees attached with that as well, which the applicant would have to meet.
Okay. It has to be a nonprofit too, it just can't be any group doing it.
It could be nonprofit, but the state of New Jersey pre-qualifies and then registers any applicant who can then get involved in a gaming activity. So SOPAC has gone through that registration process with the state. They have gotten the registration number. They came into our office this week and they're looking to do their
I didn't know
first.
Steve was planning on doing his
the
own
first raffle.
That's why I just-
So-
It's for SOPAC.
So good for them, yep.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move the batch.
Okay, moved by trustee Levison,
Second.
seconded by trustee Column. Can we have the roll, please?
Thank you. We'll start with trustee Schnall.
Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Clark,
She caught you. Yes.
trustee Column,
That was funny, yes.
trustee Davis Ford,
Yes.
trustee Levinson.
Yes.
And trustee Rosner.
Yes.
Thank you. So the consent agenda has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you. And tonight, I do have one appointment to make, and this is 2013-VP09. This is the appointment of James McGowan as the chair of the South Orange Environmental Commission. We'll notify Mr. McGowan of that. I know he's eminently qualified to do so and has been working with the Environmental Commission for quite a long time. So congratulations on that. We're excited to have you as chair. Next up is approval of bills. Trustee Levison.
The list of bills have been provided to the board for examination, and I move that the bills list be accepted with exceptions that I have noted in an email to Barry. There is some.
I second.
Okay, moved by trustee Levison, seconded by trustee Davis Ford.
Do those exceptions ever get paid, or we just keep putting
No, they get
exceptions
paid.
in there?
We go over them.
Can we have a roll, please, unless there are any questions?
Yes.
Yep.
I'm going to abstain from this bills list because I'm still waiting for the memo from the village administrator. Just, I want to go through the full process of
Right.
how this works, so for the time being.
What's the question?
For the record, I don't know who was copied on it, but trustee Column admittedly said this bill's list is sort of confusing. What are all these numbers? And there's all these, and I indicated to her that I would put together a memo. And,
Bills list 101.
benefit. Pardon me?
Bills list 101.
That's right. So I will do that as soon as I can get to it. Hopefully before there's a next bills list, you'll have that.
Please include me on
Yes,
that one. Yeah.
we'll include all the new trustees. Please.
Thanks. Okay, can we have the roll, please?
Thank you. Trustee Clark.
Here. Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Column.
Abstaining.
Thank you. Trustee Davis Ford.
Yes.
Trustee Levinson.
Yes.
Trustee Rosner.
Yes.
And trustee Schnall.
Yes.
Thank you. So the bills list has been approved.
Thank you. At this point in time, I'd like to open the meeting up for any members of the public who wish to comment.
Mr. Packer.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. President Torpy. I'm Mark Packer. I'm the Executive Director of South Orange Performing Arts Center. And I'd just like to express my gratitude to the trustees for working assiduously and quickly to seek the restructuring of this debt through the ordinance. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this. Should this ordinance pass, it will indeed provide me with the tools that I need to pursue public and private institutional support, which the organization has been constrained from doing because of the enormous debt that's carried on our balance sheet. And so on behalf of the entire organization, I'm just deeply grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Okay, I'd like to close public comments. Is there any new business?
Two things. To the administrator, Spear Drive is missing a street sign on the corner of South Orange Avenue and the beginning of Spear Drive. So could you have that taken care of? And
You're not going to top George's list.
and then the other thing is that my condolences to you, for lack of a better way, Trustee Schnall. You don't let Trustee Rosner get you into trouble.
Are we gonna move the seats? Is that
Yeah, because you
No, you're
you just be aware. He'll get you in a lot of trouble. Just be careful. That's it.
Wise words, thank you.
That was old business, not new business.
Mr. President, I'll just add, I just want to do a thank you to the village staff, the administrator, village council, and the village clerk in particular. We are 14 days in right now, and I know that me personally, I ask a lot of questions, a whole lot of questions. Just thank you so much, and to the other board members, thank you for helping us get through this transition time and acclimated to the new role.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Great.
Second.
Before we adjourn, one thing I do want to just quickly discuss the planning meeting that we have for the 11th. I assume it's okay with everybody to go ahead and try and seek a space at Seton Hall, which is what we did last time. And try and get out of Village Hall. We'll publicly notice the meeting, and it's available for members of the public and press if they do want to attend, as they have in the past, but a little bit more informal of a setting. We've got 7:30 p.m. on the 11th was the time that all of us could make it. It's a little late in the evening, expect to be there till around 9:30 or 10. And if we need to do another one, hopefully we'll try and keep things efficient. Also, in the past, we have had a kind of facilitator moderator. If that's okay with everybody, I'd like to reach out to the person who did it before, which was Janine Buckner, resident neighborhood watch coordinator, who is, I think we all thought was Dr. Buckner, helpful at facilitating us, kind of keeping us on track.
And that'd be great. She's on sabbatical, but she's staying local.
And she did offer to do that, so I'm not just cornering her into. So that's okay with everybody?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go ahead and make those arrangements for the space and for a facilitator, so I can talk a little bit less. I know everybody's okay with that.
Can you bring the results of the last planning meeting there so we have a basis to start with?
Yes, we will compile. Yeah, we've had a couple. We will bring all of that, and we'll try and we'll make sure to distribute it ahead of time too.
Yeah.
At least the Friday before the Tuesday. We will have time over the weekend to recount everything, and especially for the new trustees to see what we discussed in the past. Is there any other new business?
Could you thank the people who did the Memorial Day service?
Oh, yes, thank you. I should have had that up in the beginning at the announcements. We did have a wonderful Memorial Day service on Monday. Every year we have it out by the duck pond and organized. We have all of our Boy Scouts there, and the troop leaders, and our police department, fire department, rescue squad, some veterans, families of veterans. It's a nice ceremony, honoring the residents from South Orange who've died in service to our country. So hopefully we'll see folks again at next year's as well. Thank you for that. Is there anything else?
I move to adjourn.
Motion by Trustee Comm to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Rosner. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's adjourned.